Okay, so hello, welcome to my channel. This is probably one of the first videos I am making on here, which I am talking. Anyhow, what I'll be showing you today is a DSP from Team BASSFACE. It's 6x10 or 6/10 DSP610. And the reason I'm actually making this video is because I was very curious about the DSP myself, but I couldn't find a lot of information or any videos online about the DSP itself. Therefore, I thought a video showing what's in the box and how the DSP looks like and what the configuration of the DSP looks like will be quite interesting for people who are also curious or are thinking of buying the DSP themselves. But anyway, without further ado, let's look at the box. Right, so nothing interesting around here, just some serial numbers, or nothing on the back. Right, okay, let's open it up. That's a bit sucked in. Okay, so what do we have? We have a foam padding, right? Oh, we have a sticker which just flew off. Right, let me just grab that. There we go, just a sticker. Instruction manual. Right, so let's open it up. So we have here, we have some product description, technical information, some tips, layout, PC software, and the operating software. So we have 3 different softwares or applications that we can use, either an iOS app, Android, or a PC. The DSP has a direct hardwire connection to a PC, so it does have a USB interface. So this is the DSP itself. However, let's start with the remote. Right, let's reach in for that. Okay, so this is the remote. Not all DSPs within this price range actually feature a remote, so this was quite a nice touch. What's quite interesting about the remote is it can be used, and the DSP can be used as standalone. So what we have here is our volume control and folder select track, because we have an USB input as well as an SD card as well as Bluetooth, right? So we can do all that or configure the DSP on the go, you know, according to your kind music or listening mode. We have some high input connectors, right? So again, depending on what you want to connect, these are your 2 options, and they are highlighted in the instruction manual. Just let me open this up. Right, so we have this being number 8. Right, so this correlating to to label number 8, and this correlating to number 10. Okay, what do we have here? So we have high input on the left, high input on the right, and we have remote in and remote out. I think personally it's quite a neat feature where you have the DSP controlling your remote input into your amplifiers later on. This is to prevent the thump that you have when you switch off the car or when you start the car. You sometimes might hear this sub thump, this whoop. So having a remote through your DSP can prevent this. Okay, so this is the DSP itself. Let's try to get it out. Actually, hold on, let's see what else is in the box. Okay, so we have some Velcro, right, for attaching a DSP. I don't think there's anything else in the box. It seems to be sealed quite tight. Yeah, there's nothing else in here. So this is the outline of the box. So now let's try to unpack this. Okay, so DSP, and what do we have? Serial number, but what's most interesting to us is this side. So this is our connector side, right? And we also have sense and wire, right? So again, leading back to this remote input, right? So your DSP can turn on with sense of signal, right? So for example, when you turn on your head unit without a remote cable, right? So the DSP will be able to sense a signal through the speaker, so it can turn on automatically, or it could be wired, so just standard remote cable. Of course, our PC port here. The front, what do we have? We have our remote, right? We have our mode selection, right? So I'm guessing this is to do with different selection of modes in relation to listening to music. It also supports optical input, right? So currently a lot of standard OEM head units might have optical cables running through on optical signal from the head unit. So what the DSP allows you is to hijack the signal effectively and transposing the signal into your normal RCAs. And from inputs we have 2 channel input and 10 channel output, right? And all configurable. So yeah, I mean the form factor of the DSP is quite small. Let's just see if the instruction manual provides us with a dimension. Let's have a look. I do not think it does, but nonetheless, anyway, this information can be found online. Once I find it, I'll include it in the video. I'll provide letterbox dimensions of the amplifier. However, now it will be quite interesting to actually get the software up and running before this is connected. So yeah, let's see what that looks like. So let's look at the software. I would also like to apologise for the sound quality in the first part of the video. What has happened, unfortunately, is due to some conversion issue, file conversion issue, the sound quality deteriorated quite a little bit. So it's either quite a bit or a little bit. Nonetheless, apologies. This was purely down to me. Again, it was just the way the file was recorded, and I had to convert it into something else, and I didn't realise the audio quality would be diminished. Anyway, moving on to the actual software. So here we are. So when you open up the software for the DSP, this is how it looks, right? So what we have here is the overview, right? So we have channel 1 to 10. This is where we have high pass, low pass filters, noise gate, turn on delay, and some channel adjustments, presets, and boosts for the various frequencies, as well as time delay, and then we've got sources here. So let's start with the things that annoy me a little bit in relation to the software. Again, I don't think it's a fault of the DSP. I believe this can be fixed with the software. However, it's not. So what we have here is the channels have been set for a given speaker, right? So for example, channel 1 we got front left tweeter, channel 3 we got front left mid, channel 5 we got woofer, right? And then on the rear we got full and full, and then channel 7 we got a center speaker and sub. However, let's clear all the outputs, right? So now it's everything's off, and what you probably notice is the pictogram on the left reset. So what is very annoying for me is you cannot rename the channels, right? So channel 1 will always still channel 1. So for example, if I click on this, I cannot rename this to whatever, even if I want to say front speaker. I have to use the presets here, right? And then on the front left, for example, channel, and front right, front left are the same. These are the options I have, right? So I have a full speaker, I've got tweeter, mid-high, mid-bass, woofer, whatever, right? However, once I select a full, then I go to front left again, I cannot select anything else, right? So once I select a front left full, that's it. So I cannot add multiple speakers using that. So for example, if I wanted to have a really complex sound system, I cannot do that through the adjustments here, right? So I would have to set all the channels individually. So for example, again on channel 1, what this does, so for example, if we go on the mid, right? So what this does, it sets the frequencies for that particular speaker without the user doing anything else. However, when we set this to off, now we have full control of the frequencies and we can do whatever we want. So it is kind of annoying and it isn't at the same time. When it comes to speakers, the most annoying thing I'll say is when we are working with subs. So for example, for a sub, we got a subwoofer and then we got left and right. If I click on a sub, right, okay, it gives me all like the subwoofer frequencies already, fine. But so let's go on to channel 6, but now I have no left and right option, right? So if I go off sub, now I can do left and right. It's not a major issue, but it's just a little bit annoying. So why can I not have just a center sub? And again, it kind of correlates with the pictogram here. And another thing, so we've got front left, we got all these settings, right? But for the rears, we only have full tweeter and a woofer, right? So we don't have a mid bass or a mid speaker. Again, if you are dealing with complex sound system, it can be a little bit annoying. However, what I do understand and appreciate is probably if you are making a complex sound install, this is not the kind of product you'd be going for due to how would I say this, the price point, right? So probably you would go for something much more expensive, which we are talking about multiples of how much this costs. So this DSP is relatively cheap. However, the possibilities are significantly better than what you would have directly from your stereo, because what you can do here is adjust the frequencies and the gains and the levels individually for each single speaker, right? Whereas on your sound, on the original sound system or your radio, you adjust frequencies globally, not locally. So this is a very big plus. You can introduce sound delay, right? So you have options to do it in milliseconds, right? So you do it by time or by distance. Personally, I prefer to have the sound stage somewhere in the center of the car, right? So right behind the center point of the front seats. So this is where I'll measure my center point from. Some people prefer to have it at the driver, right? The center point to be at the driver's seat. Not me. I prefer to be a little bit offset, if that makes sense. And another thing which relates to the presets, which I've mentioned about, is a sub here. So we have boost of frequencies, right? So we've got treble, mid, bass. Okay, fair enough. When we go sub, this will only work when you actually have a sub. Right, so you would only obtain a gain or a boost on a sub if you have your sub turned on. If you have it off, it's not going to do anything, which is also quite annoying. I think from the bits that are annoying, I think that's pretty much it. But now let's talk about what how the software actually operates. So we've got a main source input, right? So we have an option for high level, auxiliary, Bluetooth. Player, I am not quite sure what this means. However, we do have an optical level as well. But anyway, let's for example select auxiliary as our main source, and then we have our mix source, right? So for example, if you are using let's say your phone as hands-free kit or something, right? So what you can do, or you have another sound source connected somehow. So what you can do, I think player would relate to either the, I think it could relate to the SD card, but I'm not quite sure. Anyway, so for example, your mix source could be Bluetooth, and then we got main source attenuation, right? So we go from 0 to 100. So this is the this means how loud the sound of your mix source will be in relation to your main source. So for example, if we select 50%, it's going to be at only half the volume of your main input, right? So let's say your main input is 100%, this will be at 50. So if we do this to 100%, now we will have equal sound level, right? What else? Of course, master volume, on off, same here. Individual channels, we can turn them on and off. We've got phase, and this just indicates the gain here. When we are looking at frequencies here, I think this is where all the kind of magic will happen for most of the people, right? So we have our gain, right? Of course, this is what we hear. We have a slider here. We can actually turn off the slider completely using this button here, right? So we can do that. So let's reset this to 0. Frequencies are adjustable as well, right? So for example, by default it's 50 hertz, but however we can make this to let's say 56 hertz, right? So we could see this this kind of dot slightly move to the right to kind of indicate this 56 hertz. And then we have our Q value. So this means how aggressive the gain on that particular frequency will be. So let's set the gain, I don't know, let's do 5, right? Right now our frequency adjustment is off, so let's turn it on. Right, so now we have I would say quite a sharp increase for that frequency in relation to gain. If we, let's say, do 7, right, now we could see this frequency is being highlighted even more, right? So everything else is flat, whereas we've got a very high peak there. If I change my Q factor to 1, right, so it kind of brings everything else along with it as well, right? So it kind of smooths out the frequencies. So this is quite good if you have some sort of resonant frequency within your vehicle. Right, so if you have a frequency which, for example, your door card doesn't like, what you can do is just minimize that frequency by, let's say, using a Q factor of 8, right, and then turn the gain down. So what this will do, it wouldn't affect the frequencies around it, and even let's do 10, right, so it becomes even more aggressive. In relation to high pass and low pass filters, same thing applies. As with the frequency adjustments here, with the equalizer, right? So let's say we want our high pass filter to be, I don't know, let's say 80 hertz, right? Now of course we got this dip in the frequency here. Okay, so let's reset this and let's do right. So now this is reset, and now we have our slope types. We've got Butterworth, Bezel, and liquids. I'm not very familiar with exactly how they work, but what they do is just change how aggressive the cutoff is, right? So if we could do bezel, right? So liquid, so just more smoother, and then we've got the slope, right? So again, so the higher the decibel count per octave, the more aggressive the block will be, right? So let's do 18 decibels, right? And then we'll change the type of slope, right? And this is how it looks. And same for the low pass filter as well. So let's do 5,000 on this, and let's do 24, right? So again, what this does, it kind of allows you to control how steep the slope is or how smooth the slope is. Moving on to the gate, the noise gate. So basically what this does, it allows you to control how much of sound is going through the DSP into the speakers or the amp, right? So for example, the lower the noise gate, the more sound will come through. So for example, if you have a noise, right? So if you, for example, have a lower quality amp, what will happen is you would have noise come through at low levels. So what this does, it kind of mitigates this by preventing lower volume sounds from coming up. So, but what this means is you would have to listen to music at high volumes, right? So if you really want to listen to music at low volumes, you would have to use your DSP remote for this rather than your head unit volume, which in my case is a little bit annoying because on my in my car I've got all the media controls on my steering wheel, which I still like to use, and the remote is obviously like an add-on. However, again, this will depend on the kind of sound system you have and the adjustments. So everything can be adjusted individually, as you can see. Turn on delay relates to this. So, for example, if you are again, if you are lowering the volume, how long would it take for the sound to stop playing or stop coming through completely? Right. So this is what turn on delay does. EQ reset just resets the EQ here. Obviously, without bypassing what's happening here, unless we do EQ bypass. No. No, okay. So yeah, EQ. So I was right. So, okay, so EQ bypass, what it does, it just turns off all your settings here, right? So what this does, it just turns everything completely off. The parametric, what this does, it prevents all these Q factors from coming up, right? So what we can do is just only adjust the gains. I don't know why you would want that on, yeah, but if you do want it, it's there. What else can I talk about here? We have sound mixing, right? So this is where your your volume will come through. So for example, if you are, let's turn off the main source. Okay. So for example, if you're working with auxiliary, right? So if you have an auxiliary connector, right? So if you're using a low-level input, and for example, channel 5 is your left speaker, right? So aux 1 and aux 2 will relate to left and right channels. So what you want to do is obviously have left on max and then this on 0. If you have like a center speaker or a sub, you want auxiliary 1 and auxiliary 2 to be 100%, right? So this is where you do your channel mixing. And I think that's about it. I mean, what we can do as well is like overlay different channels as well. So we have this various lines together. So for example, if you have your subs, your mids and everything else, what you can see is how the graphs overlay on each other. And you'll be able to see if you have any lacking frequencies and again, just fine adjustments. So overall, I think the DSP itself is quite good. Of course, there are some features lacking, like for example, the DSP is amped. It's only 25, I think RMS, 25 watts RMS, which is not a lot, but it's enough to drive a speaker. But yeah, there's no adjustments for it here in the DSP, so I still don't know how it works. There's no mention of anything in the instruction manual. But yeah, I mean, also, if you want to save and load your settings, so for example, if you want to go from computer to computer, what you can do is just PC save, PC load. You've got factory reset, you've got firmware update, and then language change to Mandarin. Once you plug in your DSP, you just have to press the connect button here, and then this will turn into green, and then you can actually adjust everything on the fly, so you don't have to load and unload. It's like whatever change you make here, it will update in the DSP live. I think that's about it in relation to this. I hope you enjoy the video. What I'd just like to say is I am not an audio expert, neither would I ever claim to be, because there is a lot of things I do not know or understand. However, I'm just an average guy, right, like you and me, who just likes to listen to music in the car. So, you know, hopefully this will help you out in understanding the product a little bit better, because I think honestly for the price there is quite a lot of going on, so that's why it was a very big interest to me. However, there was not a lot of videos on it out there, so I just thought I'll make this for whoever is interested in purchasing or using the product. So again, thank you so much. In the next video I'll be putting everything in the car. So yeah, please follow me along, and I'll see you in the next one.